Hello and welcome to this podcast brought to you by Treasury Today. In October, attendees from around the US gathered at the Midtown Lofton Terrace in New York for Treasury Today's 9th Women in Treasury New York Forum. The event included a presentation for this year's Within Award winners, as well as a networking reception and a lively and thought-provoking panel discussion. Opening the event, Meg Coates, Joint Publisher and Head of Operations at the Treasury Today Group, welcomed attendees to the event.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Meg Coates. Welcome to New York and to our Women in Treasury Forum. I'm humbled by how many phenomenal people across the States are involved and have shared their stories and built relationships as part of our community. Thank you for being part of today and for joining our Global Within network.
Sophie Jackson, Joint Publisher and Head of Strategic Content at Treasury Today, held a fireside chat with Flora Chow, Global Head of Funding, Capital Markets and Investments, Funding Operations at IFC.
Hi Flora, thanks for being with us, and I'm wondering if you can kick us off by telling us your origin story and how you've got to the role that you're in today at IFC.
Sure, thank you. I currently am, as mentioned, the Global Head of Funding at IFC. And for those that aren't familiar with IFC, we are the International Finance Corporation. We are part of the World Bank Group. And our mission, which I guess part of the origin story is that I really believe in this mission, and that's what got me to the World Bank Group, is poverty alleviation, increasing shared prosperity and income. And now it's on a livable planet, so you add the climate element. I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona, born and raised, coming from in some ways, a traditional immigrant family. My parents came from China, Taiwan, to the States. My dad was getting his PhD, then he got a postdoc at the University of Arizona. So that's how we ended up there. And so there were not many people that looked like me in Tucson. And so I always grew up a little bit different than most people around me. And then it kind of carried on in college. I studied mathematics, not many women in mathematics. But then coming to IFC is just so diverse that it's okay that you're different. So as I've become higher up in the organization, I've done a lot of mentoring, and I really love it.
Following the award presentation, Sophie introduced this year's panellists, including two of the award winners, Gladys Jin, Head of Centre of Excellence in Global Treasury and Financial Services at Microsoft, and Brandy Newhoff, Senior Director of Treasury at Walmart. Also joining the panel were Tiffany Eng, Corporate Treasurer at BMY, and Maureen Elworthy, Executive Director for Payments at JP Morgan. The discussion began with a focus on navigating key inflection points in your career.
So Gladys, I want to come to you first. So first of all, congratulations on your award. Thank you for flying in to join us today. We've spoken before. You moved from China to take on your role at Microsoft. How instrumental was moving across the world, do you think, for your career development?
I would have to say the moving to US from China is one of the most significant decisions I have ever made in my life. It means, I will have a much brighter potential in the Microsoft company, but I will have to rebuild my professional and social network.
Yeah.
And my husband, he needs to give up his career in China and then restart over, actually from the beginning. My daughter, she needs to learn English from scratch. She doesn't know anything about English. And my parents, since I'm the only child in my family, so my parents will be living thousands of miles away from me. But reflecting the decision I made at the time, after so many years, I have to say, now I can confidently say, hey, this is the turning point of my career. It opened me so much opportunities in Microsoft and empowers me with the global perspective I will never have if I only live in one country.
Tiffany, I want to come to you. Sometimes we might move across the world, sometimes we might move into different functions or different roles. So your career trajectory hasn't been what I would call the expected linear path.
So I started my career in finance, in asset management. I was at another bank during the financial crisis, thought, okay, this is really fascinating. Left that bank and said, okay, I'm done, I'm never coming back to finance. I walked out and I thought, I'm gonna go make the world a better place, so I'm gonna go to law school. So I went to law school, I did a JD MBA and thought I would go into either impact investing or nonprofit law. And it was great exploring that in graduate school. I had a really fantastic time in law and business school. Lo and behold, after that, I thought, okay, let me try my hand at law. And this was 2013 and happened to find an opportunity in DC at a regulatory agency, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. The first day I was there, I got this paper and they said, you seem kind of technical, why don't you work on this? The US is working on a rule. And this rule became the first liquidity requirement for banks all over the world. It's called the liquidity coverage ratio, by the way.
Maureen, one of the things that people talk about loads at the moment, I think, is on that zigzag journey to where we want to end up, being resilient. And I think that can be perhaps an overrated feature because challenges can hurt us as much as they help us. But what has your life and career taught you about overcoming challenges, and what advice can you offer us all?
I've been working full-time since I was 19. I got out of high school. My mom was a single mom, widowed, very young. I was the youngest of 4, so I went to a junior college, then went to work full-time and worked in retail, actually literally in the supermarket store, bagging groceries. I started that during college, but was able to work my way through at different levels within that organization, and they had a great tuition reimbursement program, so I worked full-time, went to school at night, got married, had a baby, went to school again to get my MBA, same company, paid for that too, so that all works out great. So those career challenges for me, it was less about that for me. And having so many different roles and the opportunities with that one organization. And then going from the retail side now on the bank side. So that's a little bit different, being the client and now serving the client. It's been great challenge, just different roles.
Brandy, as we mentioned in your award collection, you've had a 24-year career at Walmart, but I know you are deeply passionate about the role that you have and the function of Treasury. So tell me at the moment, what excites you most about that space that you're in finance?
I'll tell you what, first and foremost, my team excites me every day. I have the pleasure of working with so many talented and brilliant people. But I've been around for Walmart for quite a while, and I also have had a chance to work in different areas only the past 5 years or so within Treasury. And I would say being able to actually be a part of our mission at Walmart. So at Walmart, our mission is to save people money so that they can live better, which resonates with me, it resonates with my family. But we really found a great avenue to help our suppliers during the pandemic. We had a lot of small businesses that were our suppliers that were in trouble during the pandemic. And being able to help to get them access to credit was really important. And a lot of those are women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses that often struggle to get financing. And to be able to see their products on the shelves right alongside the big guys, that's really been something that brings me a lot of passion and energy.
Sophie asked the panelists about their experiences of navigating different cultures.
So first, when I came here, I'm afraid of speaking up. Number one, because of language barrier, right? And sometimes even I have some challenge understanding what people say in the room. At the beginning, I don't want to ask because people may say, oh, you're not capable. So that fear blocks me from speaking up even in the room. And the second one is also I'm learning. I'm still learning. I want to learn, digest, and absorb, and then I know what the right thing to say or versus not in the room. But after a month, my manager set up a one-on-one with me, say, hey, Gladys, I noticed you are very quiet in the room. I want you to speak up more, and I want to hear your voices. I want to hear your opinion. I want you to share your thoughts with your teammates. In East Asia, we have the humble culture. We would do our homework. We do the due diligence before we go into the meeting. We say, I'm 80% of sure I'm saying things right before I speak up in the meeting. But the culture here is more like people really want to hear your thoughts. So I have to say, blending these cultural differences helped me to enable others as well.
Maureen discussed her experience of moving into a banking role.
So it was a completely different role. I thought I was so good on that retail world where I would have the bankers coming to me and selling me, and I was negotiating those contracts. So now it was just something a little bit different, and I was on the other side. So I think adapting to that, the adaptability and being able to do that, working for a bank and it's highly regulated, right? And so that's a little bit different, especially in the payments world where, I'm selling merchant services, so credit card processing and different things like that. So I think that challenge of, just being flexible, being able to adapt, but, working with a great team and having them be supportive and teach me.
Turning to the power of community, Tiffany spoke about the support she had received while receiving treatment for breast cancer.
Breast cancer is so fundamentally kind of a female experience, let's say. And so having that connectivity with colleagues and female colleagues in particular, that type of support was tremendous during that time. And it does, people talk about whether you call your colleagues family, but it truly does feel like family. And at BMY as well, we have a lot of good support and camaraderie and colleagues who are there for each other. In terms of the actual resources at different companies and banks, we have a lot of mental health resources. Yeah. We have resources in terms of groups within the bank, women networks. We obviously have Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Yeah. And so all of that continues to be just a great way to connect different people, and it really emphasizes and amplifies the importance of us all supporting each other and continuing to connect with each other and share our stories.
The panel also discussed the importance of claiming credit for personal achievements and why it's important for women to speak about I as well as we.
One of the things that was really interesting as we were trying to calibrate the candidates across all of those that interviewed, one of the key things was how did they specifically contribute? And so when we look back at some of the answers and the notes that we were taking, consistently the women that interviewed said things like my team, we, but they didn't talk about what they specifically or what the I was. And so that actually became a big point of debate when we were talking about whether or not that person was qualified, because did they actually do anything, or are they just talking about what everyone else did? And so we had to kind of calibrate that, because as women it is hard to speak up and say what the I is.
Yeah, I was just going to add in terms of perception. So you work very hard, and a lot of times we work really hard and we're just, at our desk working hard. The perception is maybe that you work hard, but that no one really knows because you're kind of on your desk doing your stuff. So you do need that visibility, whether it comes from your manager or a sponsor, to kind of make that hard work recognized throughout the organization.
One of the best advice I was given by a mentor was, don't ever be the last one to arrive to a meeting. Get there a couple of minutes early, and don't be the first one out of the meeting as soon as it's over. Don't get back to your desk to keep ticking that task list off, because there's so much that happens in those few minutes before a meeting starts, and there's so much that happens in the minutes when you're walking down the hall and sharing. And I think that we as women probably shy away from that because we're just so focused on getting things done, and it really adds a lot when you follow that type of advice.
We would like to thank our panellists, Gladys, Brandy, Tiffany and Maureen, and everyone who joined us on the day. Thanks also to IFC for sponsoring our networking reception, and to our sponsors BNY and JP Morgan Payments. We would also like to thank our supporters, Bank of America, Barclays, Citi, Goldman Sachs, Invesco, Kyriba, Sealaus and Wells Fargo. If you would like to hear more of our podcast episodes, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you would like to be part of the conversation, you can join our Women in Treasury community on LinkedIn.